Yeah, great. We are live, so we can start. So hi everyone, and welcome to the Foreman community demo. I'm Nafar, an active developer within the Foreman project, and I'll be hosting the demo today. As usual, there are some updates to share with you, some topics I want to hear your opinions about, and some new things we've been working on. Before we get started, this demo is all about sharing the latest updates and answering your questions. So we want everyone to participate and feel free to ask right away. Drop your questions or comments in the RC chat at the Foreman or use YouTube live chat. We're tuned into both channels, so don't hesitate to speak up. Let's take a quick look at the agenda we have for today. So we have some news from the community, some demos, and after that, we have 3 topics from the focused developer section. The first topic from the community is a deep dive that will be hosted by Evgeny we have 2 weeks until that, about Foreman Ansible modules collection. Let's see if I can share my screen with the post from the community. So if you're on YouTube, you can see my screen about the post we posted in the community. So we are mentioning here that if you would like to participate, there's a Google meeting. So feel free to join us in 2 weeks. And there are some links here if you want to check that out before the deep dive, before the session. Okay, moving on to our next, our first topic. No, sorry, skip one. Announcement about the Foreman 3.9 release. So we skipped the first release because we encountered some issues, but we are hoping to get to have some news about the second release in the next few days. So of course we will update you about it in the community, and after it will be released, we would like you to test that out and give us your feedback if you encounter any issues or any feedback comes to your mind. So thank you, and we can start with the demos for today. So the first one is about the navigation search by Maria. So Maria, whenever you're ready.
Here it is. So we have the new navigation, and I know that it might be a bit hard to get used to, so we added a search and go component, so users can just type whatever they want to go to. And for example, like if I go to domains, I can choose using the keyboard and just go to domains, and it will just move us. As well as that, we have also just because of history reasons and for small screens, you can also change your organization and location from here. So if I search for default organization, I can just change my organization with that. And I'm hoping that it will be helpful. There's also the small breadcrumbs here just to make sure that you are going where you wanted to go, because some pages have the same name, so that is to make that clear. And if you have any feedback, you can reach out to me or post in the community. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Let's move on to our next topic, which is the setting search by Girija. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can I just say one thing regarding the navigation? First of all, I think that's awesome feature. One really nice feature about that is I can use a shortcut, a global shortcut to access that. I'm not sure if you showed that. I just joined. Sorry for that. But it also pretty nicely works with the keyboard navigation. Like when I click that, or when I use that shortcut, then type something, it searches something, I can go down with the arrow, click enter. That's really awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I forgot. I wanted to show another small thing. Just because our shortcuts for the search are no longer visible in the search bar itself, I added in the About page a bit of info about the shortcuts. So if you forget, you can see here shortcuts. So / will focus the page search bar, and Control Shift F will focus the navigation search bar. Thank you, Marek.
Yes, thank you. Okay, just now we are ready to move on to our next topic. So Girija, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thanks, Nupar. I hope my screen's visible. So yeah, it basically started with a bug that was reported that description search is showing the results as internal server error 500. So basically the reason was because the description column was removed from the settings table, that is the database, as it was really hefty and was taking up a lot of memory. So the proposed solution was to override a few methods in the scope search library, which was pretty time consuming. So as a temporary fix, the initial thing that we did was remove description search from settings, as you can see in this one. Yeah, so and then the next fix would be to add it back. So then in the new one, we added the description search, and it not only does cover the searching with description, like if we do that, you can obviously search with the description, but it also covers like I'm just going to show you something here. Not only was the description column removed, but also a lot of settings were removed which had non-nil values. So if we do search with name, we only have a very few limited options, which are the settings which have a certain value. So this was also considered in this fix, and it was fixed here. So now we can see that the settings have all the values, and we can search for whatever name that we want. So those were the two fixes that we did, fixing the name search and making the description search work. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. And let me know if there are questions.
Thank you, Girija. Yeah, I remember talking about it in the community forum and asking our users if they would like to keep this feature with the auto search, autocomplete search, and that's great that we could implement that. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I guess we can move on to our next demo. Yeah, demo by Lena, which will be talking about monitoring the doc section.
Yeah, hi, I am Lena. I am the technical writer on Foreman. And with Evgeny and our colleagues, we have prepared a new guide to monitoring Foreman performance. It contains instructions on setting up a solution to collect, archive, and retrieve metrics. Performance metrics specifically from Foreman server. The solution is based on the Performance Copilot tool suite, which is available for any supported operating system. And if you run Foreman on Enterprise Linux, you can also install Grafana and retrieve metrics in the web UI. And you can change some configuration values for the metrics data retention. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and thank you. That's all from me. Oh, and this guide will be available, is expected in Foreman 3.9.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you for sharing. It's coming up in the next release. I don't see any questions, so let me actually double check it. Yeah, all clear. So I guess we can move on to our next part of the demo, the developer focused demo. Yeah, and the first one is by Bernhard, and it's going to talk about UI performance. So Bernhard, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, welcome everyone. So nice that we have talked about performance already, but now I want to bring something in mind which is a little bit different. So I'm not talking about the performance of the Foreman itself, but I'm talking about the performance of the user interface and also about the performance of the API. So the last few days, or maybe it was weeks, I spent some time to analyze the speed of certain performance Foreman pages. So especially it was about the all hosts page. So if you go to the old all hosts page, and I recognized that there are a lot of time requires to generate all that stuff which is necessary to view all hosts. So in my test setup, I used 72 hosts, and I have installed Catello, Foreman Remote Execution, Foreman Ansible, Foreman OpenSCAP, and some other plugins. And I recognize that if you load the page, we have about very huge number. It is 5 million allocations. And I think that is a reason why the page is somehow slow. So the task I tried to achieve was to reduce the amount of allocations we have. And therefore, well, the first and easiest thing would be to reduce the number of hosts you show on the all hosts page. So currently I view all the hosts, so 72 hosts. If I would reduce that to, for example, 20, which is the default, of course, it will be much faster. So one thing I want to discuss further on would be if it would be possible to have something like a pagination setting for the all hosts page, a separate one, or to have a separate pagination setting for each page you have. That would be awesome to have, because we like to show all entries, for example, in content views or products, even if you have more than 20. Don't want to use pagination for that. But if you go to hosts and you, for example, your setup has 5,000 hosts, of course you don't want to have all hosts visible. Normally you use a search functionality to look at a different specific kind of host. So first of all, it's very helpful to have the SQL logging enabled, so that you see every single SQL statement which Foreman would run on the database. Then you have the possibility to count how many SQL queries are sent out. And also my colleague adds some things to Foreman packaging, which is able to show the amount of time Foreman requires to render a page on the user interface. You would get something like a small window which says, okay, I rendered this page and it takes 5 seconds, and it runs these SQL queries for these plugins, etc. So that is very helpful, and it would be really great if we can add that functionality to Foreman, so that it's possible to enable that functionality on a test system, for example. And the next thing is, you can read through that list. I tried some improvements for specific areas, for example, for a Catello host tools tracer, and for remote execution, and for Catello and the errata and install packages. So you can have a look at some pull requests I opened to improve the performance. So they are not done right now. I would be happy if someone can have a look at it. just give me feedback if it's the right way or if they have maybe some drawbacks, then we can discuss further on. Unfortunately, I also had a look at the API. So we have the same issue with the API stuff there. So it's not only about the user interface, but if you use the API, Hammer, Foreman Ansible modules, etc., it also loads a lot of different database tables, and there are a lot of improvements possible. And we should try to work on such stuff. Therefore, I added some links which you can maybe read, and which hopefully helps us to improve the performance of the user interface and also at the API. So that is a summary of API select statements if you go to the all hosts page or at the hosts page, for example. So 1,305 API calls or SQL statements just for viewing the hosts. So it would be good if we can work on such topics together. Thanks for that.
Thank you a lot, Bernhard, for bringing this topic to our attention. I think that, like, as a developer, we don't always think about all the seconds that takes us to load the pages. But for our users who are using it daily, it's a lot of time combined. So thank you, and definitely everyone should check that out and suggest some improvements. We are welcoming any questions. I don't see any questions right now, but feel free to ask us even after the demo. Yeah. So I guess we can move on to our next topic. Yeah, which will be presented by Ewoud, Ruby 3, and GitHub Actions.
Thank you. So this is actually more of a combination of multiple RFCs. And I'm trying to give an overview of where we are today and what the goals are. The immediate goal is EL Enterprise Linux 9 support, so Foreman can run on that. Just it's the latest EL version, and we should support that. We're already quite late in my opinion, so I'm not ignoring Debian and Ubuntu on purpose here. It's just that they're coming after, for the big reason that they all have new Ruby versions. Today, Foreman runs on Ruby 2.7 and Node.js 14, which we recently updated from even 12. But on EL9, you need at least Ruby 3.0 and Node 16. But on Debian 12, for example, you even need Ruby 3.1. I think Ubuntu 22.04 is Ruby 3.0 or maybe 3.1, but not entirely sure. So our current focus is just making sure we run with Ruby 3.0 and get to EL9. So that's what this RFC is about. It lays out the general strategy, some challenges that we have. As you can see, it's already a year old, so it's been ongoing for a long time, but we have a large, where we're very much behind where we want to be. But there's a lot of things here and a lot of discussion. These days,
can you zoom in a little bit? It will be.
Yeah, it's not too interesting. You should read the entire RFC itself. But what I'm trying to do now is actually give a weekly update when we chat with the team to see what the status is. So that's how I currently try to do updates. There's also related work. I mentioned Node.js. This is another RFC that's rated. Maria is working on this. It's about updating Webpack from version 3 to version 5, which will be needed to support the newer Node.js version, which is another big topic that's being worked on. While working on this, we also noticed that our CI is actually quite outdated. The Jenkins setup we use, it hasn't really changed for many years, which is now starting to bite us. So we come up with another RFC. The problem is basically that our current pipelines are not very flexible. We have a system-wide Node.js version, which makes testing with multiple versions at the same time quite complicated. And we could either invest time in updating our Jenkins configuration, because Jenkins can do this, we didn't do it. But in this RFC, I'm proposing to update and migrate to GitHub Actions, at least for Foreman and the plugins. And I won't go through all these because it's a large discussion, but the RFC lays out all the concrete plans, etc., and how to deal with it. So those are some areas we're trying to cover. If you look at what today was done, we already have the Smart Proxy and Hammer, all the test suites run with Ruby 3 and pass. That doesn't mean everything end-to-end works, but at least the test suites pass, which is a big milestone. We're not there yet with Foreman itself. Webpack 5, the PR is now ready for review. We're working on it, but we're not quite there yet. But I'm hoping to see those kind of things land in Foreman 3.10 as experimental, but I'm not sure if we can get all the way to production quality. Maybe that's Foreman 3.11, but that's roughly the plan. We're also working on packaging. Initial steps have been taken to get initial versions out, because the Smart Proxy already works. We want to get that on real systems and test it out. If we look at Catello, Pulp 3 is already testable on EL9. We know that from other places. Candlepin reportedly works, but we haven't tried it out. So that's the current plan and strategy. And I hope this gives a little bit of insight, but it's a lot to track, and it's easy to get lost. So what we have is we have a board which is tracking at least some issues. We use it on GitHub, and this tracks at least some of the things that we are doing. So you can see a lot of the things are already done. We already archived a lot of the steps. But this is roughly how we try to approach it now. We have a small team working on it constantly, or at least every week we give the updates. And I think that's the general overview. So if you have questions, either ask us on Matrix or on Discourse. We know this is a topic that is asked about a lot, and we should be doing this, and we're working hard on it.
Okay, thank you, Ewoud. Again, I don't see any questions, but we are always available even after the demo, so feel free to ask. And let's move on to our last topic for the demos today, which will be presented by Maria about Webpack 5, developer-focused demo. So Maria, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm basically continuing what Ewoud said. The Webpack 5 PR is now pretty much ready to be used. From what I see, it works everywhere, but I know that I probably don't use Foreman as everyone else, and I have different environment than everyone else. So I am expecting it to fail in some places, which I don't know about. So I will be very happy if people can try it out, just open the PR on their machine and just use Foreman for a bit. It would be very helpful. I'll go over some changes that we did in the Webpack 5 PR. Those are very general, and the full information is in this thread. And if you need more information, just ask, because I will be happy to have things in writing. So just to make sure that we remember all of this information while it's still fresh. We got rid of the Webpack Rails gem, so we will no longer be using it. And we will also no longer be using Webpack as a server. Webpack will now just build files, static files, and we will be using that. Also, because of the different loading order, we now have events in JavaScript to tell us when plugins are loaded, and when all of the plugins are loaded, and when all of the JavaScript is loaded. And React components and Ruby pages are only loaded after plugins are loaded, just so we won't have issues with a page trying to load a React component from a plugin, and the plugin is still not even in the page yet. But that does make pages look a bit more empty. But again, my environment is very different and might be very slow because I'm just running it on a small VM. And yeah, so for me, the Webpack PR looks stable and the tests are green. There's also a small Webpack 5 PR for Cotello because there are changes needed there for Angular. And hopefully when this gets in, we can move to upgrading our environment to Patternfly 5 instead of Patternfly 4. And after that, we want to try to use Foreman as an NPM module so we can import it in plugins in the future and avoid duplicates in the Foreman code and CSS. So that's the plans for the future, but obviously we first need to get the PRs in and make sure that everything is working and nothing is broken. So if you can take a look, it would be very helpful. And yeah, thank you.
Again, thank you, Maria. We would love to continue. Yeah, so actually this is our last topic for today. And the next one will be in 3 weeks in December 21st. And we don't see any questions, but we would really appreciate if you take a look at what we just presented today and test that out, check that out, give us your feedback. It will really mean a lot to us. And yeah, I don't see any questions. So thank you for everyone who participated and presented their topics. Great. We'll see you next time. Thank you.